Max,
Hmm?
what are you doing?
Uh, Watching YouTube.
Didn't you finish writing your follower video?
Yeah.
Shouldn't you be working on that?
Uh,
YouTubers are waiting.
okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Max's Models. Today we are talking about the Faller Modelbau, or Model Company, of Germany. This company was founded following World War II by two brothers, Edwin and Hermann Faller. Following the war, they started making plans for the future and they wanted to make wooden toys. In 1946 in Stuttgart, they founded the Hermann Faller Company. Soon afterwards, they relocated the company to their hometown, Gutenbach, in the Black Forest. They renamed the company to Faller Brothers, or Gebrüder Faller, and began making wooden construction kits and wooden bricks. They started off with something called their Marathon Construction Kit, and children could tinker with this and make simple houses and things out of it. And it came with some wooden panels and printed cardboard parts. Other items included a wooden multicolored mosaic game as well as a domino game. The first years of the company obviously were not easy in post-war Germany, partly due to the currency reform in 1948, and people barely had any money in their pockets, so they didn't think much about buying kits or games. As a result, in 1949, the brothers were forced to lay off their personnel. But they didn't give up, and they started making HO model train accessories, again using the brand name Marathon. This time, they were not kits, but complete models like a signal box or a watermill. The brothers also started making model trees from green-dyed sawdust that was applied to wires. Dealing with the sawdust gave the brothers the idea to produce different litter material for model train and hobbyists. The sawdust material was delivered by a sawmill and divided with sieves into different sizes. For the princely sum of 20 cents per hour, the sieving process and coloring was taken on mostly by local schoolboys, who often had their hands turn green or brown for many days after the job. The scattering material turned out to be a real hit, but they didn't have the capacity to meet their orders. So, to increase productions, they built a vibrating machine. However, the problem they ran into then was they didn't have enough oven capacity to properly dry the material. So, they gave the people of Gutenbach a chance to make a little extra money. Local residents were given these plates with high edges, and the material was scattered in them, and they would take them home and put them in their own ovens in their kitchens and dry them and then turn them back in and get paid for it. So they were actually literally a cottage industry, and they had created a considerable amount of work for the town of Gutenbach while they were doing it. Over time, the brothers improved their models, and the walls of cardboard were given opening doors and windows and things like that, little latches and stuff. The doors were made of a thick cardboard, and the windows were made out of colored paper. After gluing, the walls were coated with Greisputz, a technique where a white semolina is applied or pushed on a layer of plaster composed of water glass or a mix of white glue and poster paint, and the roofs were made of thin plywood and coated with red paint. By the early 1950s, Faller was the first manufacturer with moving models, like a watermill with a rotating wheel and a windmill whose blades rotated. Special brush motor that was designed by Hermann Faller himself was fitted directly into the model and then quietly and elegantly hidden from view. The product Hydrogel, a powder of dry glue and cellulose, was one of Faller's other big hits. Mixed with water and paint, it allowed hobbyists, with the aid of a spatula, to create lightweight mountains and cliffs with a realistic appearance. Techniques like this are still used in model railroading and diorama making today. In 1953, the Faller Company asked Fritz Schmalz for assistance with polystyrene plastic injection molding technology, which gets them into the kit model business as we know it today, although they didn't start off making cars and planes. Fritz was an old friend of Hermann Faller and had previously worked as a mechanic at a plastics manufacturing company. Due to his help in processing plastic, Faller started producing plastic parts for the cardboard models, like plastic doors, windows, and chimneys. Soon, Faller also succeeded in making models completely out of plastic parts. In 1954, the kiosk number 212 and the windmill number 227 were the first fully plastic models made by Faller, and many more would follow. All of these models were assembled in the living rooms of many home workers in and around Gutenbach, again extending their philosophy of being a cottage industry. However, having the models made for the customers was starting to get expensive. The high cost of wages for these home workers influenced Fowler's decision to start selling kits instead of assembled houses. This is much like how Airfix got started in the kit model business because it was very expensive to have people build the model tractors they were selling. The trick was that Fowler led their customers to believe that it was more fun to construct the houses themselves. And the trick worked. In 1956, Fowler introduced airplane models in 1 to 100 scale with rotating propellers. The planes had the smallest electromotors in the world, invented by Herman Fowler and Fritz Smalls. This would start off a line of 1 to 100 scale aircraft that are considered collector's items today. Although the line was never terribly extensive and is no longer in production, the kits, although perhaps a bit simple by today's standards, were actually of very high quality. In October of 1957, Fowler started publishing their bi-monthly bulletin, Fowler Modelblau Magazine. However, after 97 issues, it was stopped in December of 1974. In 1963, Fowler launched their AMS, Auto Motorsport Slot Cars, in 1 to 87 scale for use specifically with HO model railroads, and supported this release with lots of accessories. In addition to the ever-growing toy market of railway models and accessories, Fowler started producing other toys like the High T car in 1968, which was a push car for small children. And in 1970, Fowler released their High T train, a colorful plastic battery-powered toy that was on a very sturdy O-gauge track. In 1972, they came out with a somewhat more serious-looking model locomotive, which was produced and then followed by a Henschel diesel locomotive and a tender locomotive. In 1977, the Play Train was launched as the big brother of the High T train with the same rail size and technology as the High T train. The Play Train locos and cars are twice as big when compared to the High T train. It was a clever move as the train now worked perfectly with Playmobil figures. Based on the Play Train, Fowler brought out the E-Train in 1980, controlled by a 12-volt DC transformer. The E-Train tracks are suitable for Play Train as well, and the many cars and accessories of Play Train also serve the E-Train. This immediately ensured a lot of accessories for kids. In 1983, Fowler Autoland was born, with battery-powered cars and trucks. Autoland has the same size as Play and E-Train and fits perfectly into the Fowler toy program. The toy market changed in the 1980s. In fact, it changed so much that Fowler realized they may have to get out of the toy business and focus on models. Many products that were invented, developed, and manufactured in Germany were now copied in the Far East and low-wage countries, and this was the case for Fowler as well. The goal of the expansion of Fowler toy range was to diversify the risk, but the toy business had become particularly risky in the 80s. In fact, there was a famous comment by a toy company CEO that, "Your dreams are our nightmares." The business had gotten that competitive. It was clear to Fowler that these fundamental changes in the market were irreversible. The grand days of easy-to-make toys were not coming back. The Fowler brothers decided it made sense to go ahead and abandon toys and focus on traditional model making. The Fowler catalog of 1985 was therefore the last catalog with an extensive range of toys. In 1985, Fowler started producing carnival amusement park models in both HO and N scale. In 1987, Fowler launched FCS, the Fowler Car System, in HO scale and later in N scale as well. Cars, trucks, and buses would run without visible guide rails and visible wiring on a battery-powered Faulhaber motor. Later in 2013, Fowler released the newest digital version, Fowler Digital Car System 3.0. In 1997, Fowler took over their competitor, Pola. Since then, Pola has been solely devoted to the development of G-scale products. Fowler's current product line includes railway structures, houses, commercial buildings, car system, and all sorts of landscaping and layout and construction accessories in HO, N, TT, and Z scales. as well as special theme worlds such as the zoo, farm, camping, and carnival and fair. Herman and Edwin Faller have since passed away, but Faller is still a family business and has around 90 employees and sells over 1 million model houses per year. Faller's catalogs from the 50s and 60s are highly collectible today, as well as their early catalogs. Even their kit model aircraft can command a surprising price on eBay today. Well, that's all I have for Faller. There's a link below to the Markland website, which includes all of their products, and I believe that is their primary distributor now. Although Faller was not a traditional model company that only made models, as most of the companies I cover in this series, it is still a company that made kit models of cars and aircraft, and I thought it was worthy of covering. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this brief video, and as always, model on.